Good morning, everybody. My name is James, and I'm here to bring you some Centerpoint inspiration. I'm going to be reading from Matthew chapter 17 today. It's this beautiful story where Jesus has fed the 5,000, the multitudes with the fish and the bread, and he's left some of the disciples with the crowd, and he sends the hill with Peter, James, and John to the top of the mountain. And usually in your translation, if you're reading from the NLT or the NIV, you might see it as the Transfigurations, this amazing story where Jesus is revealed in his glory, speaking to the Father, the cloud with Moses and Elijah, and only Peter, James, and John witnessed this moment. And there's something that is said in the next paragraph that I've always missed, that I never actually paid attention to. And I want to share this with you because I think there's a really big idea that I want to point out this morning. So in Matthew chapter 17, after the mountain transfigurations, it says this in verse 14. At the foot of the mountain, a large crowd was waiting for them. Normally, I skip over little details like this when I'm reading the Bible because I'm still fixated on what just happened and what's about to happen, that I miss. It's the little details. But if you look at what's happened, you notice that there was a crowd that was following Jesus, and as soon as they got to the mountain where it was going to be difficult, they stopped. And it's almost like if we were there and we looked to our left and we looked to our right, and we saw everybody as a crowd waiting there, and we see this massive hill in front of us. I wonder how many of us would actually proceed forward even though it's difficult. I wonder how many of us in the crowd would look at the others and say, if you're not going, then I'm not going. Or I shouldn't go because it's going to be challenging, it's going to be uncomfortable, it's going to be hot. I don't really know what's up there. This doesn't make sense. For one reason or another, the crowd stayed at the bottom. And it was only Peter, James, and John and Jesus that ascended the hill. It was at the top of the mountain where they saw God's splendor, his glory, his majesty. They saw the supernatural cloud. They saw the Father speak. And then they saw Moses and Elijah. And can you imagine how breathtaking and life-changing that moment must have been? And in that verse 14, it says, as they came down the mountain, the crowd was still there waiting. And I guess my thought that I have for us this morning is this: are we going to be the type of people, between you and I, are you going to be the type of person that is going to wait where it's comfortable? Or are you going to be the type of person who ascends the hill to see the splendor and the glory of Jesus? I think it's in the most uncomfortable moments sometimes we are invited into some of the most spectacular moments. I think it's in those spaces where we might look at the status quo and say, most people won't do this, but I think that if we want to be like the Peter, Jameses, and Johns, we have to be willing to climb the hill even when it's difficult. And even when we don't see other people doing it, it's really in those moments that we see things that are reserved for those who will step out of their comfort zone. I love that Pastor John has been preaching on a series that we just started called Tag You're It. And I just feel like if we're going to play Tag You're It and not say not it, we have to choose to step out and get uncomfortable in certain moments. And so I guess that's my encouragement for you this morning. Let's not be the people who stay at the bottom of the mountain. Let's be the ones who ascend the hill.